Today we're going to talk about how Ram is getting into the markup game. Hey guys, hello, keep it dirty off-road. Today we're talking about the Ram TRX announcement. Now, if you've been hiding under a rock and haven't heard about it yet, Stellantis, who owns Ram, has announced the TRX will end in 2023, and then they're gonna do a final send-off, a final version for 2024. In this video, we're gonna talk about the announcement, what it actually says for the brand, and for the future of the TRX, because that's currently right now, that's the only competition that the Raptor has, and it kind of sucks to see the supercharged version go. First of all, let's talk about what they announced. This was announced earlier this week, and according to Stellantis, this will be the final year of the 2023 TRX, and they're gonna start a new version, which will be the final hoorah, final version, final whatever, final edition of the TRX, with is going to be limited to only 4,000 units. Now, the cliff notes of what's changing is basically this. The final release is going to be limited to about 4,000 trucks, and it's going to have a couple of unique things. You're going to get unique colors, you're going to get some unique badging, some stitching, a splash screen, some dashboard badges, some door panels that are in suede, and a bunch of standard features are going to be all within it. I'm going to go through that here in a little bit. The big news comes in the actual price of the vehicle. Stellantis says the new base price will be $117,000, which is a big increase. Including destination charges, is going to be about $120,000 base price for this thing. Now, I'm assuming this is going to be a fully optioned truck, so the price should justify what you're getting for it. But let's deep dive into the announcement and see what you're actually getting for this extra cash. You're getting 3 new colors. There's gonna be 8 colors in total, but 3 new colors: Delmonico Red, Night Edge Blue, and Harvest Sunrise. They're also doing satin titanium wheel beadlocks, which is just painted beadlocks. It's the same exact wheel that all the other trucks have had, but it's just gonna be painted satin titanium color, silver. You're gonna get limited edition badging, so there's gonna be hood badging and bed decals. So just painted badges, not a big deal. They are calling for new stitching, which is called patina stitching. It's going to be on the dash, the seats, and the TRX embroidered logos on the actual seats, but that's just stitching, not a big deal. You're going to get a final edition splash screen. So you're going to get a final edition boot-up screen on the truck. You're going to get a numbered dashboard. That's kind of cool. So you're going to get a numbered dashboard badge that's going to be sitting in the center armrest. That's kind of cool. They did that with the launch editions. You're going to get suede door panels, so more suede. And as far as I knew, I thought that suede was an option on the higher end trucks. So they're calling this triazyl suede, whatever that is. And then you're getting 4x4 weave matte carbon fiber, so fake carbon fiber throughout the truck. And then they're gonna make a bunch of standard features part of the final edition, including like the speakers, the Harman Kardon speaker system, the heads-up display, the adaptive cruise control, and lane keeping. For an extra $30,000, because that's what it is, for an extra $30,000, you're getting painted wheels, unique badges, a serialized badge, some unique stitching, and a boot-up screen. For $30,000. That's crazy to me. So why am I saying $30,000? Well, for those that don't know, I actually put in an order for a TRX when the first year came out as a potential option to replace my 2020 Raptor. We ended up canceling that order after waiting 6 months because the aftermarket wasn't there. I talked to a few shops. There's very few kits out. And most of the big shops didn't have any plans to do any kits for the platform because, one, your typical TRX owner only cares about quarter-mile times. They didn't care about off-road performance. And then second, the market wasn't there. Ram didn't tell anybody how long the TRX line was going to last. In this announcement, they have said that the TRX line will end, as far as the current version of it, with the Hellcat, will end in 2024. 2024 will be the last time that it'll be available. They also said that it's not the end of the TRX line. The actual quote was, "The current Ram high performance truck is coming to close, but it's not the end of the TRX story. While we'll have more news come at a later date, we're proud to offer our loyal enthusiasts the very special TRX 62 Supercharged Final Edition." A couple things that I want to point out to you guys. Everybody's latching onto the fact that this is going to be a limited production. But if you read it, this is not going to be a limited production. The final edition will be limited. There'll only be 4,000. But in 2024, they're going to make more than 4,000 TRXs. So be very careful if you want to get one of these and the dealer starts telling you that it's going to be very rare. It's not. The final editions, yes, are going to have unique colors. But if you read the announcement carefully, 2024 production limited up to 4,000 TRX supercharged V8s, final edition models worldwide, in addition to non-final edition models. So they're not going to decrease production. There's going to be more than 4,000 TRXs made in 2024. They're going to do the regular production numbers on it. It's just only up to 4,000 of them will be the limited edition. If you're looking at getting one, you can still get a regular one at a decent price. A couple other things that I want to highlight is, let's talk about the starting price. Ram announced that the starting price is $117,625 plus destination charges is $1996. So that takes the price all the way up to $119,620. 120 grand for the final edition TRX. That is a ludicrous price when you consider how much the base price was. In 2022, the base price of a bare bones TRX was $79,000. We saw a big jump in 2023. Those that had an order were horrified because it went from $78,000 all the way up to almost $85,000 was the base price. It was a huge jump, and a lot of people actually canceled their orders for the TRX. They went up quite a bit. When you fully load one of these up, and I actually built one up. I built the 2023 up with all the features that I want. I even selected the moonroof because I wanted to see how much it would be fully loaded. And fully loaded, you get up into $107,000, which is pretty high, but that's what the TRXs cost, right? You can start in the 70s, 80s. They went up to 85, and then a fully optioned one would cost you anywhere between 90 to 106. Now, when I placed my order in 2021, my fully loaded TRX, and I think I didn't get the sunroof because I didn't want the sunroof. I don't want any of the issues that came with that. And without all the graphics and all that stuff, it came out somewhere in the 90s. If I remember right, I think it came out to like 91 or 95, somewhere around there. So they were priced high, but the price wasn't crazy high. And for those that are wondering, the fact that the fully optioned TRX cost almost $110,000 is the reason why the Raptor R cost $110,000. Ford had to be the more expensive truck, even though the Raptor R should really realistically be about 15K less than what it is. I'm not a big fan of this announcement, right? Because it shows you two things. For one, it shows you that all these people paying markups is affecting MSRP now. If we do a quick TRX search, TRXs are going for anywhere between MSRP, 80s and 90s, to as high as 150, 130, and all that stuff. So people are still paying markups on TRXs. Early 2021 models, you can definitely get them in the 70s and 80s now. Yeah, there's definitely deals to be had out there. You can definitely get them cheaper. But for the most part, there's still dealers out there putting markups on them. This price is ridiculous. Because when you think about it, right? If the base price is in the mid 85s and this thing's almost 120, why is it so expensive? Why are they charging so much for just what ends up being some colors and some plastic badges? The price doesn't justify what you're getting for it, which is a shame. But because so many people are paying markups for these trucks, Ram is trying to get into the game, and they put an astronomical price on this truck so that they can get a little bit extra profit on the final year, which really sucks because we saw that with the Raptor R. It's about 15K more than it should be, because people are paying ridiculous numbers, and we talked about it last week, right? If you're paying a markup, we see you as an idiot. We don't see you as this guy that, oh, you got one? No, you're a moron. You overpaid for it. So don't pay markups, guys, because you guys have seen it. This is just showing you a trend that's happening in the industry. If you keep paying those markups, the truck prices are going to keep going up, and the dealers aren't going to stop putting markups on there. So the trucks are going to get exponentially more expensive to the point that we're completely priced out. I could probably afford this truck at $120,000. Do I want to? No, hell no. Not with the aftermarket support there is out there, which brings us to our last point. They didn't come out and say that this was the end of the TRX line. They actually said, current chapter of the high performance is coming to a close, but it's not the end of the TRX story. We will have news to come at a later date. So the common speculation is that the TRX will live on. They'll most likely do a refresh in 2025 of the whole Ram lineup because they need to, right? The Ram trucks are kind of aging a little bit. They look a little old. So we'll get a new look And then most likely we'll see the high output version of the Hurricane Inline 6 twin turbo engine in it. The horsepower rating will be much lower, right? It won't be 700 horsepower. It'll be anywhere within what that engine can do, which in the SUVs is doing anywhere between 450 and 500 horsepower. I'm sure they're gonna have to do some tweaks to it because of the weight of the trucks, but we're gonna be seeing 500 horsepower twin turbo inline 6s to compete with the Raptors. The unfortunate part about this too is that this gives the V8 off-road Baja truck market completely to Ford. Ford will be the only ones making the Raptor R. My other concern with that too is that Ford may decide that the Raptor R is going to only be released a few years because the TRX is gone. So we may see the Raptor R go away here too. For those that don't know, CAFE standards are killing big V8s, and they're becoming an even more and more limited production because manufacturers are getting penalized tax-wise. They're getting penalized for making big gas guzzling V8 engines that don't have good fuel economy and put a lot of pollution. That's why you're seeing Stellantis getting rid of the Hellcat engine. The Hellcat engine costs them more than they're making on it, though they are trying to cash in on it with this crazy price of $120,000. Now, would you buy one? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Would you buy one of these full well knowing that the only thing you're getting is fancy colors and some fancy stitching? I personally, I don't think this final edition will be worth it. Yeah, I know some people got to have the latest and greatest. Some people got to have like the last version of this, but I think the first editions were much better looking with that really cool like greenish color. I think that was much better looking. The new colors, the red, the blue, and the Harvest. Well, they haven't really released the Harvest, but they showed us the blue and the red. They don't look that special to me. I don't think it's worth what they're asking for it. I would rather just build the regular TRX and go that route and keep it in the 90s, maybe even lower, right? Depending on the options that you get. And at the end of the day too, there's still no aftermarket support because there's still no future for this platform. And that's one of the biggest drawbacks of it. If you look at a TRX line, I get so annoyed when somebody says, oh, I'll just buy a TRX instead of a Raptor. When you look at what's available for the TRX, there are only two options when it comes to suspension on the TRX. One kit, the high-end kit, is Robbie Woods' long travel kit, which I wouldn't send Robbie Woods any money after what he's done to a couple of prominent builds out there. Yeah, he builds cool stuff, but if you look closely at the people that have his stuff, they're always breaking. And the few guys that have gotten big builds, they're not running, and there's a reason why they're not running. On the other side of the spectrum, you have stock travel upgrades. And I'm gonna lump a bunch of stuff into this because if you're stock, you're stock. Just because you upgraded the control arms and all that stuff, if you're still at stock travel, you're not doing much to improve the performance. So like anything that keeps the stock 2.5s, in my opinion, doesn't do much. There is companies out there bringing out like SDI type solutions where they take over the live valve shocks to really improve them. But there's a lot of limitations with those shocks, right? The lines have to be replaced. There's not enough flow going through there. A lot of fittings the shocks have to be revalved because it's a heavy truck. And it could do with a bigger shock. And the only big shock option out there is from King. And it's priced about 25% more than anything for the Raptor. Because King knows that the market is small there and so few TRX guys are buying suspension upgrades. But again, all of those solutions, control arm upgrades, shock upgrades, and all that stuff, fall into stock travel. So that is one solution. The only other option is a long travel kit that nobody has except that one truck, and that's it. So to me, that's not a market. Now, we've heard that Fouts is doing something for it, which would be really cool to see like a mid-travel kit for it. But I also know that every shop I talk to says, one, the frame at the front being wider makes it challenging to do any kind of upgrades. So they didn't invest any time or money or resources into it because they didn't see the platform living past the 3-year mark, right? When Ram said that they were going to kill the Hellcat engine. So a 3-year production run is not enough for them to do a large investment in performance upgrades, suspension performance upgrades, because there's no market there. And on top of that, the owners that have these don't care about it. They don't care about suspension upgrades. They care about quarter mile times, which is a real shame because that platform can be a lot of fun if you could do a mid-travel setup. And if you could do a mid-travel setup on that truck, you could have a real fun with it, and it might make some Raptors, you know, look bad. Now, those that like to argue, oh, it's better than the R, it's better than the Raptor, better than the Gen 3, it's not. I have a video on the channel, I'll link it here, where we test the TRX with the Gen 2 Raptor, and keep in mind, Gen 2 Raptor is a leaf sprung back end. The Gen 3 is linked, just like the TRX. The Gen 3 will outperform a Gen 2, but the TRX can only perform as good as a Gen 2. It cannot outperform a Gen 2. And I have the clips showing that, right? The suspension bottoms out quicker because of the weight, the dynamics of that with all that weight up front and not much in the back. It doesn't handle and it doesn't deal with the trails as well as a Gen 2 does. It's on par with the Gen 2, and that's the benchmark they use to build the TRX. The Gen 3 is leaps and bounds outperforms the Gen 2 platform substantially. If you put an SDI eClick system, it's up to almost mid-travel. It's a very impressive platform. And for that reason, I think the Raptor is still going to be the better deal, still going to be the king, regardless of what powertrain Ram decides to go with it. Until Ram starts putting bigger shocks on there, 2.5s aren't enough, you're going to still see the Raptor ones outperform it. And now, I will say this too. The algorithm that Ram uses is better than the algorithm that Ford used on the Gen 2s for live out. I will say that. We did notice that in some ways it responds better and it stays flatter than a Gen 2. So I want to preface that. So if Ram can bump up the shocks, do some 3.0 shocks at minimum, put a smaller platform, maybe narrow off that front end a little bit, I think we can have a really cool competitor, and I hope they do, because the Raptor needs a competitor. Without a competitor, things don't get better. We would have never got the Raptor R if there wasn't a TRX, and competition only makes things better. The only thing that would make it even better was if Chevy finally got in the game and built a proper Raptor competitor, because the ZR2s are not. The ZR2s on the Silverado are not proper competitors. All right, guys, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you could think of the new truck. Comments, questions below. Please consider subscribing, and see you guys on the next one.